Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Got a gaggle of Glocks on the table, and you probably recently heard Sky went out of business, and then right behind that you hear Glock's discontinuing a long list of pistols. No, Glock's not going out of business, and no, the entire Glock lineup isn't being discontinued. But in case you want to know what does it look like, what they have discontinued, this pile all represents things that have been discontinued. And I'm going to kind of go through by caliber to kind of make it easier. But one of the things I can see from their site, just to kind of cut down on a lot of repetition in the video, is it looks like Gen 4 is gone. From what I can tell, nothing Gen 4 survived. So if it didn't get a Gen 5, it is going to be limited. And the weird thing about Gen 3 is, during their discontinue list, they actually called out very specifically Gen 3, 4, 5 on a lot of different models. Those models that never got a 4 or 5, they just listed the model. But some of them, for example, the 17, the 19, the 26, all the 9mm, they called out Gen 4 and a selection of Gen 5s. And in one or two places they called out Gen 3, but in other places they left it blank. So for example, the Glock 17, they didn't specify Gen 3. So I don't know if Gen 3 of those guns was even still in production or if they were discontinued in the past. But I have a feeling they're keeping the Gen 3s, at least in some categories like the 9mm, for restricted states like California. Otherwise, they basically would lock themselves out of California if they didn't keep the Gen 3s. So Gen 4, best I can tell from looking at all the information on their site, Gen 4 is gone. And probably most of the Gen 3s and a healthy selection of the Gen 5s. So I'm going to clear the table. I'm going to just put the 9mm on the table, talk about that, and kind of work through it, trying to make this a reasonably quick video. One quick thing before I get into the 9mm is just kind of do a special call out. There is the 28 and the 25. These are the 380s that were never available in the United States. They did a limited run. They don't list these as discontinued, but they're not on their site anymore, and they never really were intended to be a long run. I have a feeling, just based on what I see, that these are probably gone, that however many they made. When they sold them, they sold them. But that was kind of the plan all along with these. They were mostly for people that wanted them simply because you couldn't get one. 9mm, probably the most popular caliber out there today. The Glock 17 is on the list, but the Gen 5 non-MOS is surviving. Most of the rest of it is gone. So if you wanted a 17, you can still get one, but if you want a particular version, let's say you wanted a Gen 4, you wanted the MOS, then you may need to act quickly. The 17L is gone completely. And you're going to find this is a pattern with all the long slide Glocks. So you're seeing it with the 17L, and as we go through some of the other calibers, you're going to see that as well. Gone. The 19 is another one you're going to see on the list, and they can't possibly be discontinuing what's their most popular handgun, and they're not entirely. They're getting rid of the Gen 4. It's rather focusing on the Gen 5s. So you could still get a 19, but it's going to be a Gen 5 with or without the MOS. And by the way, MOS is Modular Optics System. It's Glock's buzzword for optics ready. A lot of manufacturers have buzzwords for that. The 26, also probably one of their very popular carry guns, the Baby Glock, is being discontinued, but only in the Gen 4. You'll still be able to get them in Gen 5. Big difference between Gen 4 and Gen 5 is finger grooves versus non-finger grooves. This one happens to be a Gen 5, so it doesn't have the finger grooves. A Gen 4 does. The 34, which is a competition gun, which is a long side gun, is also going away. Turn it so you can see it. Again, it seems like the long slides are going away. And one of the things that I kind of found is if it didn't get a Gen 5, other than keeping some Gen 3s around for the purposes of California, so you may still be able to get this in a Gen 3, if it didn't get a Gen 5, it's really not surviving. The 49 was a limited run to begin with, so it's going away. So 9mm has a lot of survivors. More specifically Gen 4, and in some cases some Gen 3s, and some select Gen 5s are going away. But 9mm is a very popular caliber and will continue to be, and even Glock recognizes that. A caliber that wasn't quite so lucky is 40 Smith & Wesson. Pretty much gone. So you take the 22, which was a Glock 19, the middle size. I'm sorry, this is a Glock 17 size, a full size. and then the 23, which is the middle of the compact Glock 19 size. The 24, I don't happen to have one, but it would be similar to the 17L, so it's a long slide. And the 27, the 40 cal baby Glock, and the 35, which is the competition, gone. 40 cal Glock, it appears, at least again from the information on their website, Glock's out of the 40 Smith & Wesson business. And what I've been seeing over the years as I've been doing this, that 40 is losing its popularity. 9mm is pretty much taking over and bumping 40 out. It sits between, it kind of sits between 9mm, which is real popular, and 10mm, which is, very powerful. And it's kind of having a hard time holding its foothold. And you're seeing new manufacturers not even making 40s. Things come out and it's just 9mm. So, 40 is kind of fading into the sunset. And Glock, one of the companies that had a full lineup of 40, is doing that as well. Another two calibers, and I've only got one instance of each, that really we're not lucky in this, is 357 SIG. So I've got a 32 right here, and that's the Glock 19 size, the middle size, 357 SIG, and 45 gap. I have the 38, which is again the middle size. But from a model perspective, the ones in that caliber, the 31, the 32, and the 33, those were all 357 SIG, and the 37, 38, and 39 gone. 357 SIG had a hard time gaining popularity. Pretty much it was supposed to be a little more powerful than 40, but just never took off. The ammo was always expensive. And 45 gap is kind of pretty much regarded as a solution looking for a problem. It was a caliber Glock came on with. It's got Glock auto pistol and never gained popularity. I'm not aware of any manufacturers outside the Glock that actually made guns for it. Ammo is very expensive, hard to find. There's only one or two manufacturers that even make it. I'll be surprised if they even continue making it. So these two calibers didn't make the cut. They're gone from good for the Glock lineup. Another caliber that seems to be going back and forth and potentially waning in popularity is 45 ACP. The 21 is the only one that survived the cut. It's the MOS version in Gen 5 only that survived. Anything else is gone. This is the full size. It would be the larger one. The 36, this is a 30 baby Glock, gone. And oddly enough, this is listed on their website as a Gen 5 new release, but it's explicitly listed on the discontinued list, which would lead me to believe, even though there's conflicting information, that it's gone for good. The 36, this is their slimline 45 ACP, gone. And like all the other long slides, the 41, which was a long slide, kind of hunting, similar to the 10mm one, gone. So 45 didn't fare too well. There's one survivor in that lineup. 10mm fared similarly to 45, and that's unfortunate because 10mm is kind of my favorite caliber. But the 20 survived in the Gen 5 MOS. The 29, the baby Glock version of the 10mm, both this and the SF version, gone. And again, like all the long slides, the 40, and this is my favorite hunting gun. This is my favorite woods gun. This will stop a hog dead in his tracks, and gone. So that kind of takes it down to one offering in 45 and 10mm. So in summary, it's not necessarily Armageddon, but especially in the 9mm territory, they're widely available. But if you've been looking at any of their more esoteric ones, something like this, let's say a hunting gun, or you wanted a backup, they're not going to be around for a whole lot longer. They probably will sell fairly quickly. The people that like Glocks that have been hankering for a particular version, model, caliber, whatever, will act on it. So it's not the end of the world from a Glock perspective. They're not going out of business, but they are definitely massively streamlining. And they have discontinued models in the past, but never on this scale. Wiping out entire gens and entire calibers. This is actually a first for Glock. The other thing I'll call out is the 22, the G44 is staying, and all the slim lines, the single stacks, the 42, the 43, those are all staying. This is really pretty much the double stacks. So beyond that, hopefully that was interesting or useful. If you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell up there to be notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Player, Rumble. We're pretty much everywhere. And thank you.